know, the people were totally isolated. They had no connection with the rest of the world. The only thing they had was their neighbors, and they needed to get in contact with them, and at times they needed to contact the rest of the world, and he could see this. He had a fabulous memory and a foresight, and he decided that maybe he'd better find out something about telephone. He just got really interested in it and could see the tremendous need for it. I remember one time we were over at Burnt Fork and we were working on the line. The telephone line went right across this swamp, and the swamps always was full of deer flies. My dad gave me some tools and some wire and a pair of stretchers and started me through this swamp. Well, all I had on was a light shirt, and before I got halfway across that swamp, my shirt was soaked with blood. The deer flies was just all over me. And I threw down my tools when I saw my dad and started to run. And he took me to the creek and took my shirt off and washed the blood off. And we got back up and I got some coats on and got the tools again. Turned out he'd found the trouble just about where the road was. The line had been tore down there. But I'd come across this swamp. If we'd have drove around it, we'd have found it without going through there. But I was crying, and the deer flies had just about eaten me. But it was quite an experience, and I'll never forget those deer flies and how bad they were. I'd gone to work for Bridge Valley Electric, working for them in the daytime, working for my dad at night. When I'd get off work at the power company, I'd go to the telephone company and go to work. I needed a way to feed my family, and I had to make enough money some way to do it, because telephone company couldn't feed two families. Learned about REA from the power company. Asked them if they could help me. I asked for some maps. They wanted maps showing how many subscribers we had and how many we could possibly get. So I spent one whole winter and all the spare time I could get making these maps. I very seldom got over 4 or 5 hours sleep a night. But I got the maps finished and I mailed them. So they said they'd loan me the money. Dad thought it was a mistake. He said, "You can't borrow yourself rich." And I told him, "No, Dad, you can't. But we're broke now. We can't be any worse off than we are." So I said, "We've got to do something, and this is the only way I can see to do it." And several years later, he sat on the porch and told me, we used to go out there and watch the sun come up. And he said, I've been wanting to talk to you about this. I said, what's that, Dad? He said, about borrowing that money, I think you done the right thing. And that was hard for him to say. Well, I felt real good about it. I was glad he changed his mind.